Hello there, my name is Jager Gustafson and I have a microphone. And for our comrades, 你好，我叫 Jager, 我是加拿大人. So today we are going to be talking about all the wonderful things that are happening in Alberta and how we are setting the tone for preventing transgender for everybody, getting pornography out of the schools. They want to change the sex of children. It's insane. These crazy people. Even the Chinese communists think these people are very crazy, and they are. They are very crazy. And this is NDP people. They are part of this party. It's called NDP. They like the color orange. Very, very silly color. Anyways, so the other great things that we're doing is also preventing this mob of bad teachers and bad administrators. They want state indoctrination control of all schools. So it's very, very sick mindset. They want to control all the schools and all the teachers because all the bad teachers, they want to not lose their jobs, right? And I think we need to give all these teachers math tests and fire the bottom 10%. Absolutely, just get rid of them because they're not good. Give every teacher a math test, okay? And if they fail, well, there should be a minimum standard, but if they fail, just fire them. Get rid of all these bad teachers because if they're no good, how should they be teaching the students? How are we verifying this? Anyways, so they want to have public education to indoctrinate everybody. Public education is the most ridiculous thing. We can have public funding for learning, which can follow students, but definitely not this state-sponsored nonsense. Because once they get control of the state education, it's game over. They just start indoctrinating the children, and within one generation, very quickly, it all goes downhill. And look what we've seen. There are there's boys who think they're girls and girls who think they're boys, and they're thinking they're sick, and they're going to the doctor to get drugs, and then they're cutting up their bodies when they get older. It's ridiculous. Like, it's a sickness. We know it's a mental illness. This gender dysphoria is a mental illness. But anyways, stop that in Alberta, and we got to get that out of the schools because it's just ridiculous. They're transing these kids socially and changing their names because they feel like it. It's like a numerology cult where they would change their names because their feelings about numbers. It's the same thing, right? It's all just ridiculous. So anyways, I think in Alberta we're doing a very good job of keeping the communists out. We have to have very good policy, but I don't think people realize the dangers of communism. What they do is they promote socialism. Even in Canada, the Communist Party of Canada is planned. They have a very clear plan, is that they first promote socialism, and through socialism, that is the first step to promote communism, where everybody's equal. But there's a small group of people who are more equal than others because it's based on that family group of humans, about 150 people that maintain power. They implement quotas. They completely destroy economies, free trade, free association, and innovation. What they want is full control because that's what communism gets you, is full control. And through socialism, we saw this with the Nazis, right? They used nationalized workers. So the Nazi Party in Germany was actually called the Germans' National Socialist Workers' Party. So they get the people who are on the government payroll to promote their agenda, whatever it is. And that's how they snatch power. So the only party in Alberta that wants less government, well, this is not true, there's also a Republican Party, but the party that wants to have less government is clearly the safe choice for all of us here in Alberta. That's the UCP. We know that. They formed government and continue to do so. So I think people need to realize that our biggest expenses in Alberta is healthcare, and then education, then it comes into infrastructure, and then social spending. And more money is not going to help a system that's broken. We saw that teachers were very upset how broken the system is. It's because public education does not work, right? Public funding for learning can absolutely work, but you have to have competition and you have to have free choice because the government should not be choosing for you. It doesn't make any sense why the government should be making choices about your life and what your children learn. It's ridiculous. It doesn't work. And then these bureaucrats, they have this almost godlike godlike power, and they get a lot of reward from it. So all of a sudden they get reinforced into controlling and the system. So they become communists very quickly, and bureaucrats very quickly inside, and they get indoctrinated into this. It happens inevitably for all these people. They have this godlike power, and what happens is they get rewarded by exercising that power. So we need to have limited government, and the functions of the government should be very simple. And if we do have an emergent property, such as funds to, pay for public learning for students, then we can do it. But there has to be competition, because right now we've got bad teachers, all these bad teachers. And again, like I said, take a test. Bottom 10% of teachers, just fire them right away. Give them a math test. If you fail, or if you are in the bottom 10%, yeah, you can go get a job somewhere else. Maybe work harder. Maybe reapply later when you're fit to do so. But these teachers, I don't think there's many of them who aren't good. And the real good teachers know this. They know there's bad teachers out there, and they're dragging everybody down. There's bad principals down there. There's sociopathic principals. There's psychopathic principals out there in administration. It's very political, these jobs. I've seen it. I have teachers telling me about these crazy principals. They've got to go. They've all got to go. So we got to get the system fixed up, and also this would have never been an issue if there was choice, parent choice. If there are consequences, because it rewards those who have psychopathic and sociopathic tendencies to rise up the ranks in these sort of bureaucratic organizations that are highly political, right? So these are based not on money, but on social capital. So it's not based on merit. It's based on who you know and what favors you do for them, not based on merit. So our system here is very broken. It should have never happened in the first place, but it did. And I think we need to go in and find out which teachers are good and which teachers are bad. And we put cameras in the classroom, right? See what's actually happening. Because the teachers, they say, hey, you want to see what's going on? But I think people are going to realize very fast that the system never worked. That's why we have such problems. It hasn't worked for a long time. It's been a big issue, and you cannot keep putting money into it. It could be a temporary fix, but you can't keep putting money into a system that is deeply, deeply flawed, because centralizing all of the authority never works. You have to let people self-organize, and you must have distributed competency. That's the function of a limited government that can have policies that promote this sort of work. Like, for example, in a beehive, you don't have to tell bees how to make hexagons, right? The intelligence, even in a bee, knows what to do, and humans are intelligent, and we do trust the people in Alberta. We all trust each other every single day when we drive on the road. Yet we can't trust teachers, and that's what this system does with the ATA. They don't trust teachers. Why do they have to be in such a place of power? Why can't they have competition? Why does it have to be legislated, right? Why is this a statutory organization? Well, because they don't trust the teachers. So there you go. And if we did have an organization, teachers should have free association. They should be able to choose who represents them, and if they want to start their own organization, do that. And the regulation should be there to protect public interest, not to protect the interest of teachers. Huge conflict of interest with these teachers. These are supposed to be smart people who are the teachers, but I can tell you, teachers don't get paid very much, because people are, it's limited to government investment. People need to be investing in their own kids' education as well, not just the government. People need to be investing in their own children's education. The government can't pay for everything. And the government, we do have enough money here to fund schools, fund students that can then fund schools. But the challenge is there's just not much choice out there right now, because it's a monopoly, a giant monopoly, and they've brainwashed the population into thinking that what they're doing is good. And I think a lot of parents have apathy, because it's like a babysitter, right? These schools are just giant babysitters, and parents work too hard, and the family breaks down. The social units within our society, the nuclear or reproductive unit of the family, and then our family groups start to break down, because we don't have the time to build the social capital and the reciprocity with our family members. So what happens is that breaks down. Parents get sick, parents get tired, and you know what? You send your kid off to school, and it seems like a service, right? And it is a service. It's a giant babysitting service. But you don't want to send your kids to these public schools. They're just awful. And the teachers don't even. If the teachers don't want to be there, the students don't want to be there. The only people really now, it's the parents saying, "Hey, well, it's a service because we're too tired and overworked, because our system has been, sucked out by all this communism, all this socialism that's been never ending. Property taxes going up like crazy. Insane. Property tax in Calgary is directly impacting the family units. People would be able to spend a lot more time during the mayoral race in Calgary. I'd calculated that my tax reductions on property tax for families, directly impacting families, would have been able to give more weekends back together, more time together, more days off, so that parents could actually spend the time taking care of themselves and their families. So if you don't have time to take care of your family and you don't have time to take care of yourself, oftentimes we put others first. So what happens is we start to not be able to take care of ourselves and then not be able to take care of our families because we're too stressed out and we're also don't have the time, right? And so if we don't find reward in what we're doing, if you don't find reward in all the activities you do every single day, that's when the anxiety starts to set in because the lack of dopamine and norepinephrine. You need that reward mechanism. And so as soon as that happens, and even if you have the time, then you become very stressed and very disorganized because of the challenges of this communist structure where you're not rewarded for your work. In fact, every time you work, you're taxed. You get income tax. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Why would you tax somebody, which is painful? It's clearly painful. Well, it creates learned helplessness within a population. It's how you destroy a population is with income tax, I can tell you. If you want to destroy an economy, it is through taxation of labor. Absolutely. It's ridiculous. And the rich don't pay taxes anyways. So it's crazy. These people, they're all brainwashed, I think, and there are bad people in the government, and they want more money, and they use it to buy votes. That's what they do. They use the money that they take from, working class people, and they use it to buy votes from the same people. Oh, I'm giving it back to you, aren't I? And they have you convinced that you need to pay these taxes. Well, if Alberta was independent and a free country, okay, if we were a free state in Alberta, we would not actually have to pay income tax within 25 years. If we could invest the money that we send net negative to Ottawa, okay, net negative to Ottawa all the time, by 2050, we would have our budget, our trust fund in Alberta would be fully funded to provide income to ensure that Albertans don't have to pay taxes. And then we could choose what services we wanted and we could pay more taxes. But that's the problem is these politicians get in by making promises to people, making things more affordable. How does the government make things more affordable? Okay, good policy, okay, that promotes free market. And I've never seen a monopoly that's created by a free market. Monopolies are always created by the government, and the government is the ultimate monopoly. That's what happens, right? We vote these people in because they say affordability or housing, all this garbage. It's not true. It's not true. The only thing that can make things more affordable is to increase people's income as well as reduce inflation if possible, right? So you have to balance the inflation because inflation is a tax, right? Everybody has money from the government and it's a percentage of the value, right? So it's a measure of how much value of input into a system you have. And absolutely soon as they start printing more money, that is a tax on your percentage of value. Right, so the value of your dollar goes down. So inflation is the government's planned tax. It's a planned tax on your value. So it's a percentage of your value when they print money, and it's created through our fractional reserve system. This is how fiat currencies work. So it can help promote growth, but you have to be very careful because if it gets out of control, and also people aren't consenting to this all the time too, right? So it's our monetary policy, and it doesn't always work, and they don't know how to control it half the time because they don't have control over it. Their only lever really is to print more money or not. Well, they don't really print money. That's not how it works. They have reserve accounts and then they lend that out to banks, but commercial banks, if they have a charter. But anyways, yeah, crazy times. But we stopped the transgender for everybody nonsense. This ridiculous thing that they changing the sex of kids and making them think that their body is making them uncomfortable. It's not how biology works. The nervous system doesn't, it develops, concurrently with the body. There's no disconnect there. It is just ridiculous. But I think a lot of these ones, they give them, I think the science is just complete junk science. These people are not scientists. They're just getting money from the government, right, through NGOs and all this crap in the U.S. and the Democrats. They just get money to study all this. It's totally fake. what they do though is these hormones do affect neurotransmitters. So people with mental illnesses can get temporary relief with hormones. Like for example, a girl with ADHD may benefit from testosterone because it increases catecholamines in the brain. This is basic science. Anybody who knows biology would know this, but they try to make it think like they're curing some disease, which is non-existent. Okay, this is totally made up. It's all made up. It's a social contagion. All the suicide, they said, oh, if you're not nice to them, they're going to kill themselves. That's called a social contagion. Okay, suicides are social contagions. We've known this for a long time in the social sciences of influence. Okay, in influence science, we've known that when we publish studies about suicides, suicides go up. We see increased car crashes and airplanes start falling out of the sky because of the publishing of suicides. So we know these are a social contagion. Once you're aware of it, then you understand that's how it's influenced. It's through stories and through publication of these stories, and they manipulate people, right? Huge manipulation, all lies. It's a social contagion, these suicides, and also the SSRIs, because SSRIs increase the pediatric suicides. And these kids have mental health. They're giving them drugs, brain, mind-bending drugs. These are mind-bending drugs. They're serotonergic, which causes changes in the perception of reality. We know this if you take psychedelic mushrooms or LSD. So these are very mild compared to that, but these are very dangerous drugs for children, and then they start hurting themselves, or they've been coached. There's actually been cases where a psychologist was coaching young children to pretend to want to harm themselves so that they could get the surgery, because these people are sick. You know, these are pedophiles, or they're kind of messed up people, really sick people trying to push the gender ideology on kids. Just let kids be kids, you know, and that's why we had to get the pornography out of the schools. They had these weird sex books in the schools with pictures in them. You couldn't believe it. It was insane. It's just insane. And they're trying, but the ultimate goal is to make money off of the drugs, and also to make money off the surgeries, and also to affirm the mental illness of the people who have already participated in this, because these people have cut up their bodies, you know, and they've, you know, it's not a medical condition, right? It's like there is a mental health component to it, but it's not real. Never seen this anywhere else in history. They just lie and lie and lie, and it's like they have all these talking points. They're obsessed with it. It's almost like an obsession at some point online with all these talking points they have. I see it all the time because I talk about this, because this is really important for protecting children in Alberta from these sick doctors and sick psychologists. They're very sick. Anyways, so that was really good. You know, we got to start to defund public education. Absolutely. We need to stop this nonsense. We need to fund the learners. And teachers are going to like this, because if you're a great teacher, go start your own school. You know, private schools are the best thing for education. It should be mostly private, and it can be for-profit or non-profit. There's different models, and then people can choose whatever works best, and the person who's going to spearhead these initiatives is going to make the best choice based on their opportunity. And if there are situations where we can't have competition, then, you know, it's better to have maybe a government monopoly rather than a crony capitalistic monopoly. So that's important too. So we need to, we're not looking to end public education. Public education as a service, like the residential schools, was actually preferred by a lot of Indigenous people at the time. They were sending their kids to them, and they lied about, like in Kamloops, they said there's 215 bodies. We've never found these bodies. They won't let anybody look at it. There's these gangs of Indigenous people who are getting money from the government, $12 million to actually find the bodies, never used. And Indigenous people know the truth, that they're not seeing the money in a lot of cases. It depends if they have a good council or not, but the money goes. Where's the money going? Right? So some it's good, some is bad, but they just lie about all this stuff. So you can see public education with the residential schools is a good example of, you know, when we have to go out and do this. It was done usually through the Catholic Church at the time, which was a lot of nuns and priests and stuff had gone out to help the children. And you know, there's always bad people in any organization, and it has to be well regulated in terms of the administration of it. But anyways, that we don't want to see competition, but that's a good example of the public, you know, delivery, and there was some good and some bad there, and now they're lying about it. And I can't believe it. So people on this, like the Liberal Party and NDP Party, they just push public education, yet the residential schools were the worst thing in the world, and they lie, but they lie about them. So they're so disconnected. The cognitive dissonance with their wedge issues that they try to put people into these categories and victimize is ridiculous. Everybody's a victim with the Liberals. Everybody's a victim with the NDP. But the only people who are saying that you should be in charge of your life, that you should have less government, you should make the best choices for you and your family because you are the only person who can, is the Conservatives. And that's kind of scary because we never used to have this. I think a lot of the Liberals used to be that way as well. But I think what's happened is this communism has started to invade the mindset for buying votes because it's a popularity contest. And so we need to end the communism now, and the socialism is the first step towards it. And all our money, all of our hard work is going to fund other people's nonsense. Absolutely. So, should we have public funding for education and healthcare? Those are our biggest expenses in Alberta. First comes healthcare, then education, yes, but it doesn't need to be done improperly. It can be done well, but we can't be funding these institutions that have a monopoly on our system. That's what causes the issues, this monopoly, which paralyzes all the people who are doing the good work, all the nurses, all the doctors, all the healthcare practitioners. There is a mob of people, and generally they are incompetent because in this hierarchy that's created within these systems, it's not based on capital, it's based on social capital. And so the people who are really good at because you can't really maintain a network larger than 150, so it all comes down to self-promotion. And the people who are good at self-promotion generally have that skill set because they had to develop it. It was a learned skill set because they needed it. So if you're very good at what you do, generally speaking, you don't need to develop a skill set of self-promotion. So it was the people who are incompetent generally develop that skill set. And that's why they rise in any organization. You see, why are the bad people always at the top? It's because the skill of self-promotion is developed in people who are not good. So my call to all the people I know is like, if you're really good at something, or if you're really competent, really intelligent, self-promotion, that's like the key skill you can develop. But they tell you, oh, if anybody self-promotes, you're egotistical, you're crazy. It's like, no, you have to stand in your own sovereignty. And that's what I call for Alberta too. We've always said an independent Alberta is the best solution moving forward because it fixes the political issues with Ottawa, and it fixes the financial issues, the financial abuse of Albertans once and for all, and it allows us to develop our resources here to stop this climate change hoax, total hoax. Humans have been doing this for a long time in government to maintain control. Look at the Aztecs, cutting out people's hearts and sacrificing babies so that the world doesn't end. Okay, this is pure fear tactics. This is fear tactics 101. The world is going to end. Okay, the sun is going to explode. We need to sacrifice all the babies. You need to drink the Kool-Aid. And this is mass suicide. And it's just on a smaller scale. It's a mass sacrifice, though, with your tax dollars. But where does that money go? It doesn't go to stop climate change. And the climate's always changing, by the way. What it does is it goes to fund contracts for crony capitalistic businesses. Okay, and so they're trying to model the economy how they want to, but somebody's getting those contracts. It isn't going to small businesses; it's going to large organizations who are just abusing the system, and they give money and donations, and and that's how they get the votes and the popularity and the advertising. It's crazy. So we got to stop it. We need real grassroots leaders. That's what we have in Alberta. The UCP is a grassroots organization. Majority of the people on the board of the UCP are grassroots representatives of the people, and that's what the UCP is. People are very confused about it, and the NDP, they lie about taking away the rights. I haven't seen one person lose any rights in Alberta. In fact, we have improved the rights of people in Alberta through improving freedom for healthcare practitioners. We have strong and free. So how are we taking away rights? Actually, in fact, protecting children from doctors who are pushing chemicals on them to castrate these children, to sterilize children, absolutely sterilizing them, preventing them to develop. Men don't finish developing until they're 25 years old. That's true, right? So they're trying to prevent development. They're sterilizing them. This is what the Nazis did. And again, all these teachers, it's all these socialized workers. That's what the Nazi Party was. That's how they gained power, right? So it's going to be the same crazy people. And you want to keep them out. You want real grassroots voice every time. That's what the UCP does. So that's why you got to support it. And I can tell you the majority of the board members of the UCP are grassroots people. Okay, we got rid of the lobbyists at the last AGM. We said no more of these bloody lobbyists. Get the lobbyists out of here, because I see these lobbyists. They're getting paid, conflict of interest all over the place, and they're they're very conflicted with what they do, and they get used by criminals with a lot of money. These criminals, they take advantage of the government system and they pay them, and that's why they're lobbying to get more money for the government. We said no to the lobbyists. And some of these lobbyists said, "Well, I do good things." No, no lobbyists. We don't want lobbyists. Okay, if you're going to be lobbying, you're not going to be a part of leadership here. You got to disclose it, and we got to really look at what's going on here. So UCP doesn't like lobbyists. Okay, I can tell you that. We don't like lobbyists. We like grassroots members, real representatives bringing your voice to government. There's the administration of the government of Alberta, and then you have your representatives that are going to government and representing the interest of the members. So I'd say join the UCP. If you're interested in actually having a voice to government, you want to have less government, you want to protect your family, you want to protect not just your nuclear reproductive family, but your family. That's the network of people that you build with social reciprocity and social capital. And also, you want to be able to start businesses, be able to actually start associations. It's free association and free enterprise, and you can do this commerce through currency as a service. That's what the UCP is all about. That's what brought everybody together, and that's why they are the most popular party. But on the internet, they use a lot of emotions, a bunch of crazy people on the internet, and they spread a lot of misinformation about what's actually happening. When they say they're taking away rights, who took away any rights? There are no rights that have been taken away. In fact, healthcare practitioners have more freedom now. But it threatens this hierarchy that they have, this control mechanism of these psychopaths at the top of these organizations like the ATA, the sociopaths at the ATA, and the sociopaths at the Alberta Medical Association. Man, these people, they're nuts. I can tell you, they're completely deranged, mental health crisis all over the place. And why are they at the top? Because they had the skill of self-promotion. And so who has the skill of self-promotion? Those who developed it early on. And who develops that early on is those who are incompetent because they can't get what they want through merit. So they have to develop the skill of self-promotion. And in large organizations, larger than 150 people, you're going to you can't maintain social connections very well. It starts to fall apart. So the people at the top are the people who are good at self-promotion and not necessarily competent at what they actually do. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. And we got to make sure that we have free association and free enterprise. That's why money allows us to maintain good social cohesion. But they thought social cohesion came through communism, and they lie about that too, because people get contracts to monitor social media. I can tell you, a company from the UK trying to promote social cohesion, scaring Mayor Gondek and all these mayors and all these councils. Oh, you need to have all this social media monitoring and stop free speech because it's going to help social causes. No, social cohesion is helped by three things: strong individuals with strong liberties, strong nuclear families and family groups, okay? And then also it's helped by free association, free enterprise through currency as a service, right? That's how you build a strong, really a strong society. A top-down approach is a very, very dangerous and unstable society, I can tell you that. It doesn't work, but the people in power want more power, and they think they're doing something good. But you don't need to do something to maintain power. You actually have to empower people, and you have to empower families, and that takes quality time. So people can't be too busy, being forced labor in communism. And then lastly, is you have to have free association. People have to be able to make their choice, and there has to be competition between groups of people, and that makes our lives so much better. That's what the UCP is actually about. If you didn't know, you can see their values. I don't see any values. The NDP value communism, and they value taking your money and redistributing it for their political means. They take your money, give it to the teachers who vote for them and engage politically, and these are bad teachers. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning of this conversation with you, just give them a math test. Give all the teachers a math test and fire the bottom 10% of all teachers right off the bat. And you'll see, they'll get very good pretty quickly. I'm not against firing the bottom. And you know what? The teachers, they like it. They will like it. But who won't like it is the ATA, because they're the incompetent. The people running this are the incompetent people. And just wait until you see the principals and all this stuff too. They should be taking math tests. The administrators, but they're the loudmouths. They're the bad people who became in these positions because of their skills of self promotion, right? So they are loud and they'll be annoying and they'll try and influence, but don't listen to them. The good people know the truth. If you can't do a math test, you shouldn't be a teacher, right? So I'd say let's fire 10% of the teachers, bottom 10%. We can hire new ones, train new ones, why not? And just start getting rid of them because these are bad teachers. And we've seen, it'd be a good way to I think we'll find a lot of those teachers might also be doing bad things with kids as well. We see this. There's children being hurt by teachers. These people are attracted to these jobs because they can have access to children. So, and generally, these people are low IQ. So, we'll see if we can start to root these kids out, because these teachers graduating from university, it's not a merit-based system. They're just passing people sometimes, and they're not actually teaching these teachers how to teach. I end up coaching some teachers on how to actually put together lesson plans. That's scary. I'm not a school teacher; it's just an educator for post-secondary, but not for young kids, and some of these teachers don't know what they're doing. They really don't, and they think the good things they do in the classes and they get rewarded for is pushing their political things like the transgender for everybody. So soon that becomes the curriculum. That's what they talk about every day, and they end up talking about Indigenous lies, like the 215 bodies, which 0 have been found in Kamloops. These are just lies. So these schools are become political indoctrination camps for children. It's terrible, and the teachers know it. They don't like it. The teachers aren't happy. They want to change. And you know what? Those teachers should be free to go start their own schools and walk away from these nasty sociopathic principals. You know who you are. These are nasty principals, very nasty people. They're also incompetent, a lot of them too, so they've got to go. And then the good principals will be rewarded, the good people. But anyways, I want to say hi and update you about what's going on, and we'll talk to you soon. My name is Jagger Gustafson, and I've got a microphone, so people got to listen. Just kidding. Okay, bye-bye.